What's up, everybody? Welcome back. John Levesque here. Happy to have you all with me again for another Power Platform tutorial. Today, I'm joined by my good friend, Yash Agarwal. Yash, how you doing, my friend?
Hey John, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. We're heading towards springtime. The dark season is almost over in Seattle. I'm very excited about that, actually. How are things in your neck of the world?
It's pretty hot here. It's like always hot, so
Oh yeah. Well, that's true. What's the temperature right now?
it should be something around 38, 39 Celsius. So it's pretty hot.
Wow, so very hot. Okay.
Yeah,
Scorching hot. All right.
totally.
Man.
I mean, at least it's evening, so it's pleasant, but in the day, it's like really, really hot. So
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, Yash, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and
okay,
then go ahead and tell everybody what it is we're going to be talking about today.
awesome. So I'll start sharing my screen. So
Okay.
please let me know when you can see it.
I see it.
Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to learn how we can do a better contract management process using DocuSign, connector, and Power Automate and SharePoint. And before we move to that, a quick intro on myself. So I'm Yash Agarwal, and I'm a Microsoft MVP and MCT for business applications from India. You can connect with me by scanning this QR code on the screen, and you can also follow me on Twitter, reach out to me via email, or follow my blog on the links on the screen. And I'm also a community super user on the Power Apps and Power Automate forum. So if you're posting something over there, please don't forget to tag me.
Awesome.
And then we'll start with our process over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to understand the process of how we can automate this contract management part. And to do that, what I did is I created a sample, like a non-disclosure agreement contract, which can be used by companies for external contractors, for within teams, etc.
Nice.
So I already created the sample contract. So we have the heading, we have the company details over here, which are going to be static. The only part that is changing over here is and the below and part where the user or the contractor could put their name, their email address, and their location details. After
Okay.
which they can finally sign and submit. So I've not put the entire contract. I just put it as a single pager as a sample over here that we can use. Now, moving forward, what we have is we're going to use like 3 or 4 different parts on this entire solution. So I've chosen how to use DocuSign for this, so that it enables secure signing and viewing the PDF document. You can also manage all your templates, or you can manage your individual contracts with DocuSign also, and you can put them on
Nice.
SharePoint based upon the security. So I'll
Cool.
quickly log in over here. So this is a trial DocuSign that I have spin up over here. It works for about 30 days, and you can test out all the features before you actually want to implement this on your
Nice.
contract management part. And as we can see over here, once I sign in, I have these home, manage, and template, report settings, etc. So the templates is the one that I'm interested in for now for this video. So I can navigate to templates and start creating one here. And when I'm creating this template, it'll ask me to upload a file. So I
Oh,
have this contract file here. And next, now I can put a placeholder over here. So let's say contractor signature. And in needs to sign, I can put a needs to sign so that once they acknowledge it's like that, or I can put in-person signer so that they can actually sign it like we do usually on contracts, or I can put a copy over here so that this person only receives a copy. And
nice.
then you can keep adding these placeholders over here. Yeah, I mean, there are other options also. You can add customizations. So, for example, this one where we have this add access code. So only a person with a specific access code will be
Oh,
able to open. So that there are pretty nice features. But
yeah.
again, for the demo, let's keep it simple. I'll put a contractor signature over here and needs to sign and go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. And once I do this, I have this canvas over here where I can start adding those custom fields. So as you can see, this is automatically loaded. Now I have the standard fields over here that can be added. So for example, let's say put a name field here. So this is going to request a name from the person. and I can see all the available items over here. So where do we have to put it? And I have the sender permissions, like is it mandatory, restrict changes, etc., etc. But it has only these certain set of items that we can do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this. I have a custom field already, which is name. So I'm going to put that one. And in this field, what I can do is I can put the required field and or read only. So if I put read only, then it is going to be a static when the user won't be able to change it. So I'll just put required field and I'll type the text as enter name.
It's
And
always
as you
good
can
to
see,
have descriptive text in those boxes to make sure people
yes,
actually know what they're doing.
yes, totally, totally.
Yeah.
And it's like it's also a little bit intuitive. It will provide you with the details like this is the hint, this is what goes here, etc. And
Yep.
it sometimes you can also hide it with asterisks if there's some confidential information like a password or something like that. But I don't see the use case just here in this one. But in case you have one, you can do this also. And then there's a tooltip. There are a lot of other things that you can do. So let's leave
Yeah.
it over there. And what I'm going to do is I'll just copy over this item again and paste it here. And this time it's going to be enter email address, or we already have their email address. So let's just say enter address. Let's say house number, copy paste this. Okay, it copied over the entire thing. So I had this text of the contract copied before.
On the clipboard, gotcha.
Yes. Control C, Control V again, and this time let's say enter state and country. Okay. So now that this is done, we can again choose any other formatting that you want to add, character limitation. You can also add validation that this field should only have letters, numbers, emails, or a
Oh,
zip code, etc. So
nice.
there's a bunch of features that can be properly utilized. So we can,
Super
depending upon the
robust.
use case. Yep. And now that we have this, I'll just go ahead and click next, and it will show all these fields over here. And I'm going to save this template. Let's name it as NDA contract and save. So I can see my template over here. I can also see if that within my organization, if somebody has created some templates, they can share it with me. We can have folders. Again, it's up to the use cases that you're building and how deep you want to get into this tool, and you can
Hmm.
start exploring it accordingly. So now that I have my template created over here, we want to manage these contracts on SharePoint once the contract has been signed. And we also want to initiate the contract automation from SharePoint itself. So I already have created a SharePoint site that is contracts, and I am going to use the same document library over here to save the signed copy of the contract. But then to automate how I'm going to send these contracts to users, what I'll do is I'm going to create a SharePoint list over here. So this can act like a as a data source to a Power App, or you could also create it in Dataverse, depending upon the use case entirely.
Yeah.
So let's name this list a blank list as contractors
Yeah,
dash.
Dataverse would be nice for this, wouldn't it? It would
Yeah,
give
totally.
you some added security features, and it becomes it's just so much more robust where the data can live there forever instead of in a list. But for the purposes of the demo, this is nice and clean and simple.
Yep. And it's like in Dataverse, we can also use the out of the box entities like contacts or accounts for these contractors, and it already has those fields and forms, so you don't have
Yeah.
to repeat this. So here in the title, we'll just keep the name of the person. I'll add another single line of text here to store the email. And let's say I also have a person type field here who's approving this person so that they'll work with us. So person or group and save. And let's say I have another choice type column that is status. So it could be approved. Let's keep it as pending based on the color coding. So here is approved and this one is rejected. and save this. So now that I have this list, I can create a new record. And before we do that, what I'll do is I'll make some edits on this column so that we have a default value set to pending and save this. Now let's say I'm creating a new record directly from here. So I'll put my name
And so
and
now
I'll,
this would be who you want to send the contract to, right? So we're
yes,
putting in a
that's
new
correct.
contractor who's you.
And you can use any email address. So for approver, again, I'm going to put myself and status is pending.
It's good. It's good. You're onboarding yourself and approving yourself.
That's how it should be.
That's right.
Okay. So it's like basically the hiring can be done from HR departments, or let's say if there's any just a reference coming out, we can put that also at a single place. And then when somebody in a particular department has a requirement for a certain skill set that already exists on the list, they can see that and then start the conversation with them. But before the conversation, also there's a requirement of signing an NDA. So we can cook up such use cases and fit this in anywhere, basically wherever there are contracts involved.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yeah. And then once I have this, now it's like, okay, there's a team that wants to hire me, and then for that, once the status is approved, only then the NDA can be sent to them. So for
Okay.
that, now we'll start building our flow, the best part.
The best part.
So I'll close this and start creating a new flow and select an automated flow because we want to run this every time this item is modified in SharePoint. So I'm going to select this when an item is created or modified. And so I just created the list. I hope it auto populates here, or
Mm,
else, yeah, it's there. And in the list, we have the contractor's external NDA. I'll add an action to compose first, where we're going to put the status value. So if we hover over this, we have the trigger status value. So I can just directly copy it. And in the expression, when I paste it, I have this. So just get rid of those extra items here. So copy this. This is for the trigger conditions. So I'm going to put a trigger condition where the condition where this flow is going to run only if the item is modified or created and the status is approved.
yeah.
Yep. So in settings, I'll configure a trigger condition and put the expression here. So the first part is the field that we're looking for, and the second one is the text. Okay. And
Nice.
once we have this, I can get rid of the compose action here. And the next step is to get the template from DocuSign. So I'm going to search for DocuSign here. And in that, I am going to first select the option of send an envelope using a template. Once I select this, it is going to create a connection to DocuSign and then ask me to provide these parameters. So the account ID is basically the company that you're registering with DocuSign. And the template is the template that you created over there. So I have the NDA contract here. And I can set an envelope status over here that it is sent or created. So for now, since I'm sending it, I want to create it as sent. And as we have two fields over here, so remember that we created these as a placeholder when we were creating the template where we need to have the contractor signature. So I'm going to put the title where we are having the name of the contractor, and the email is going to have the contractor signature email. Now, once we have this, it is going to create an envelope first with the template of NDA contract for this person. Now, to send this to them, we are going to add another action here. And that is going to be a send envelope action. So here we have the account ID, and from the previous action, we can get the ID of the envelope and save it.
Okay. Nice.
So
Nice.
just two items over here. What I can do is I can add another column over here that says what is the status of the contract, and it's, let's say if it's pending, it has been sent or it has been approved. So that is again based on the scope. And I have this already here. So send an envelope and save it. And then this is, let's rename this as send contract to contractor and save the flow. Now, once the flow sends the contract to the contractor, it's just half the process. So they get an email with the details they have to fill up and sign it. What we can do is we can create another flow. So I'll duplicate this tab here because we also want to track when the document has been signed. So I'm going to create a new flow, get rid of this trigger, and directly search for the DocuSign.
DocuSign triggers.
Yep. And we have the when an envelope status changes. So I'm going to select that. And I'm going to select my account ID. For the connect name, I'm just going to provide as contract. You have to provide a name here to create the connection.
Okay.
And for the envelope event, I'm going to select as completed because once the user signs it, it is completed. I can
Okay.
also have declined, voided, or only when it is delivered, or even at the event when the contract is sent by the system. So there are multiple flows you can set up based on different trigger actions for the envelope event.
Nice.
So I'm just going to select completed over here and then add a new step. Once it is completed, I want to get or have an extracted copy of this and save it in SharePoint. So what I'm going to do is to add another action over here to get the content of the or get the documents as a part of this envelope. So again, search for DocuSign and select the get envelope documents here. We have to provide all the details. The ID comes from the trigger itself. And as you can see, there are a bunch of dynamic data that
Wow.
is coming out of
Yeah.
the trigger itself. So we can use all of this.
Yeah, that's all rich metadata.
Yes.
Talking back to Dataverse, that's a lot of info you could stuff into Dataverse.
Yes. And then this is very important. So certificate of completion, yes or no. So I can get an entire certificate of the responses, the response time, some other metadata as I want from the document signed, or I can just select no. So let's select yes and see what it returns later on.
Okay.
And once I have the documents over here, so what I can do is I can start creating a file.
Create file, I think. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And I'll just select my contract site in which I am going to select the documents library, which was created by default. I can have a separate document library for tracking some metadata also. And then in the file name, what I can do is from the trigger, I'm going to get the name of the recipient. So um, here we have the recipient name. And of course, so when we are getting the envelope documents, it is going to be like an array.
Hmm. An array is
And
a set of multiple objects. That's why the apply to each appeared, so that
yes,
we can deal with each of those objects individually.
yep. I'm going to quickly look up again on the connector here of what all options we have. So we can remove recipient or you can add recipients to an envelope as well. Now moving that, I have this. I'm going to create a file with the name of the recipient, and along with that, I'm going to put a dash. What else can we put? So let's put the timestamp. But the timestamp is going to have a lot of characters which are not accepted in the name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a UTC now and just take HH dash mm dash SS, which is the exact timestamp, and click OK. And finally the extension because we have the PDF. And in the content, I can just put the file content, which is coming from the get envelope documents.
Nice.
Yeah, and I think since we have this object, I think to less complicated, we can get rid of the recipient name from here, and I'm going to use another expression. So let's first add it back, and we can have the detail. It is username without a space. So get rid of that again. And before the dash, I'm going to put an expression here. Okay, that's a big one. You copy the entire thing and then come back to the expression here. Use the first function and paste it.
And then delete one.
And then we put a question mark and put the key, which is the username. And after that, just pull this action outside of the apply to each and get rid of that. There you go. So I can save this now.
So for those of you
Let's.
watching, that what he did there was created a dynamic name with a part of the object he wanted. You don't have to go through that. If you want to drag in their first name or their email address as part of the name, like you did at first, you can totally do that and leave it in the apply to each, and it'll work very similarly.
Contract and again save it. So the thing to note over here is whenever we're using these expressions on the file name, usually it trims off the extension. So we may see that, but let's see how that works. Okay, for now it is there. Now what we'll do is we'll start the approval process over here. So I'm just going to edit the item and let's click this on test so that it picks it up immediately. And if you just do it over there, so it may take up to 5 minutes for this to trigger.
Which in test you don't like. In the real world, 5 minutes on contract timing doesn't mean a whole lot.
Yep. So now that it is approved, we should see our flow trigger here. Okay. I thought it would be immediate, but let's just wait for a second here.
It's going. Flow's just warming up.
Yeah. So as you can see, it has retrieved the template and sent the envelope, and now we have this flow over here. So I'll just put this to test as well, and come back to my email from where I'm going to extract the document here, and I can review the document. So as you can see, I first have to agree to get started on this and continue. Here I'm going to provide my name.
Don't put your real address, Ash. Just put a fake one.
Yep, okay. Street 21 and some state and some country because the contract is signed that way. And once I do this, I can just directly finish it that I have acknowledged this. And I can also log into DocuSign and view the contract. So this is done from my end. I'm going to come back here and our flow has already triggered. Also, the person who creates the template and the person's connection whose we are using in the flow to send this, they also get an email with the document that is sent and also the document that has been completed.
Nice.
Okay. So this should be triggering in a moment. All right, let's run now.
All right.
Okay, it's taking a lot of time to create file. I hope, yeah, it carried the PDF extension perfectly. So I'm going to come back to the contracts here in the documents. I should be able to see the PDF created. So let's open this up. So I have the details over here with the blah, blah, blah and the name here. And then I can see the entire certificate of completion. So signature was completed. And yeah.
Nice.
So it records the basic timestamp of when the document was opened, when was it signed, and so we have a lot of metadata that can be taken back from here and put it on SharePoint or Dataverse, and based upon the use case, advance the application. So another use case that I have already worked on for this is like once we have this contract signed and completed, Flow automatically picks up the details from the SharePoint list. So I'll go back to my SharePoint list here. Um, Here I have the contractor's external NDA. So an organization has a Teams channel or a Teams team created for external contractors who can come and collaborate over there, upload files, or even create users for them as guest users. So that information is all stored on this Teams. So once the document has been signed, Flow automatically picks that up, sends an approval to the person who's the approver if they need to be added to the team. And once they approve, then you can add them to the team automatically and send them a welcome notification and all that.
Man, I mean, you could add them to AD. You could
Yes,
get them
yes.
started in your IT workflow to provision all their stuff. There's a million jump off points from here that are suddenly possible when you have a secure process like this. Nice. Beautiful stuff, Yash. As always, as usual, I'm not surprised. Man, I appreciate you coming and putting together this demo to show off one of our third-party connectors, DocuSign. I think it's a fantastic tool, and the walkthrough from what I've seen today, it's definitely something I'm going to investigate a bit more of. I'm going to go get a trial and play around myself and create some templates because it looks cool.
Oh, definitely. And it's like you can also manage all the items that you've already sent. So you can see those documents as well. If it's waiting, you can see the status.
Its own approval center.
Yes, yes. Not like an approval center. It's just the tracking center to see what's the status of a contract or a document.
Yeah. I mean, similar idea. Very cool.
Yep.
Very cool. Awesome. All right. Well, for you guys at home, go ahead and check the description for a few helpful links. Also down there in the description, I will have all of Yash's information. I'll have his Twitter handle, his LinkedIn, his website. Go ahead and get connected with him. Like he said, he loves to hear from folks. If you tag him in the community, it's very likely he'll hop on and help you with your problem. And so definitely a great person to connect with. Yash, I just want to say thanks one more time, man. Really appreciate you coming in.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you so much, John. Yep.
Okay, you guys at home, you know what to do. Check that description, click like, click subscribe so that you don't miss another video. Much love from us. We will see you in the next one.